Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. The spotter said it was clear. It wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened, and then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I felt. I called him out. He didn't show. And so, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out about until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, folks, welcome back to Meet Me at Applebees, your number one unrefined motorsports podcast. It's Brien here again with Rob and Ashley. And, folks, this week we've got Pennsboro to talk about and the last good NASCAR Cup race of the season at Homestead. So, folks, how we all doing this week?
I'm feeling good. I had a nice weekend at home. Got the old patio set up going on the patio. That's a cool way to put it. But yeah, drug the TV out there for Sunday. A little too windy for a fire pit, but I had a good weekend watching some racing. How about you, Truelove?
I'm doing great. Went to the Moonshine Fest in Dawsonville and ready to go to Martinsville this weekend.
Fuck yeah.
Took some cool lurker shots of Ken Reagan.
I did do that. Talk about that later.
Yeah, we do have a segment put aside for you. So. Oh man, where do we start? I mean, like you said, that was a hell of a weekend across the board, from what I gather. Again, per usual, I did not watch a second of the truck race, and I missed the Xfinity race as well. But so you guys could fill me in on that.
Well, I think Truelove's the one who's got to take the lead here, because I only listened to. I listened to the truck race on the way down to Pennsboro, and I was listening to. Got all the way up to the last stage of Xfinity until my phone stopped working, and then I was at the track anyway. So, trying to think. So, Truelove, what did we miss here? Obviously, I think the big story that came out of the truck race is
That's the only story. I mean,
Matt Mills.
The truck race was whatever.
Yeah, our favorite mumbler, Grant Enfinger, won again. It's good for him.
Hell yeah, I like Grant.
Yeah, he's fine. I got no beef with Grant, but
no one new moves on to the Final Four.
I think he was already in the Final Four, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So, like I said, good for him. But yeah, Connor Jones, this dickhead. Well, I don't know anything about him, other than apparently both Dale Jr. and Uncle Kenny tried to talk to him about his shitty driving, but. Apparently he's bringing it up to NASCAR because he put a driver in the hospital this weekend when he purposely wrecked Matt Mills, who thankfully wasn't a head injury. It was, not to say it's good that smoke inhalation, but that's what his major issue was, and he's already out of the hospital. But the fact he was in the hospital for 2 days is not a good look.
No, not at all. In fact, I found, like I said, I didn't watch any truck race, but I found out about anything happening through Truelove, who texted the group, Connor Jones seems like a turd. Glad NASCAR took immediate action to park him. To which I replied, didn't see what you're talking about, but it sounds right. Because Connor Jones has a little bit of a rap sheet from the Cars Tour and some other late model racing. And yeah, just a real bad temper on this kid, and just a history of doing this kind of shit. And I wasn't surprised to hear it at all. And I don't think this is the first time he's gone to the hauler this season.
No, they said before this he'd already been to the NASCAR hauler 3 times in the truck series, and he's only 18.
Yeah.
So, not great.
Yeah, just a kid with a checkbook, or his dad's checkbook, and I'll give him credit. He's certainly talented, but at some point, your attitude will outweigh all the money you have and whatever talent you have. So yeah, hopefully he gets that shit checked out. And I wish he was getting a couple weeks off here, to be honest with you, for that kind of shit.
They said they might announce another penalty today, but I didn't hear anything come out. So.
Yeah, I saw that NASCAR was going to review it, whatever that means. So maybe they sat down with his high school guidance counselor or something, and they took his Marilyn Manson CDs away or some shit.
No.
Well, he was definitely doing his
as a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
He was doing his best Kurt Busch impression on the radio, screaming about it afterwards. So that was cool to see.
He had Joel Edmonds as a spotter too, which is the last guy who's going to hear that shit. Apparently, he just said nothing.
Yeah, he was definitely having to come apart.
Oh yeah, that's a classic come apart right there. But yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. You look at guys like Ryan Preece, who are generally pretty nice, even though the performance hasn't matched, and you keep hearing about guys like him getting rides, and your career can last a long time, and then you hear about guys who are kind of shitheads, and they just fade off into the night, even though they have money, kind of like John West Townley did. So, and a bunch of other people. He's just the first one that popped to mind. Only we didn't get to see a cool suplex out of Connor Jones like we did.
Well, not yet.
Not yet. The night is young, but yeah, hopefully this is a wake-up call for him. But I don't know. We'll fucking see, I guess.
Now, as far as the Xfinity race, like I said, I only listened to the first few stages, but from what I heard, it sounded like a pretty entertaining race, other than the fact Austin Hill won.
Yeah, there was some great battles throughout the race, mainly between Cole Custer, Austin Hill, and Almirola.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Old double A, Eric Almirola.
Austin Hill won stage 1, stage 2, and the race, but they did put on a show for sure.
I'd heard that Austin Hill was just ripping the bottom the whole time, too.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's some Kevin Harvick shit right there. Good for him.
He was weighed down to the bottom.
I mean, he's been pretty quiet for the last half of the season here, so I mean, whatever. Worse things could happen than Austin Hill winning a race. So
yeah, we shit on him.
He was definitely sobbing on the radio afterwards, and then when he got out and they did his interview on the front stretch, there was a woman out in the crowd who was screaming like blood-curdling horror film screams, just like over and over and over. So if y'all get a chance to go back and watch that, listen for that lady.
It is spooky season, so.
It's very spooky. Very spooky reaction for Austin Hill.
Yeah.
But I guess that brings us to Sunday. So, unless you're living under a rock, I mean, if you're listening to this show, you've probably either seen the race or heard about how good it was, and it lives up to every positive review and every tweet and every Facebook. Anything you saw about how good the race was still doesn't really put it into perspective as to how good the race was. I mean, Vegas was great, but this was definitely an all-timer as far as modern era NASCAR goes. I mean, you had everybody but Logano as far as the championship contenders were just up front the entire race. Logano being already in the race, or already in the Final Four. He even said, like, all their efforts going towards Phoenix, and he was in
they
the
don't
20s.
give a fuck about the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, didn't really care. But I mean, you had drivers. Every line was being used. Guys like Larson, Reddick ripping the top and really showing what they had there. Fortunately, Larson again had a day full of issues. An early flat tire put him behind, and he had to kind of work his way up through the field throughout the race. And we'll wait. We'll save his final wreck towards the end of the convection, but what the hell else?
We can just save it all together if you want. We don't need to talk about that.
Reddick was up front most of the day. Denny was kind of bouncing around the top 5, and really towards the end of the race is when he made his best efforts to win.
Yeah,
there's so many drivers
Elliott had
now
a great
going.
Day.
Yeah, Chase Elliott
The
did.
playoff guys had a great day.
He had an okay day.
Great middle section of the race, yeah. Also, shout out to Carson. Brian's having to come apart of his own over here.
Just ripped the fucking microphone out of my hand.
I heard you talking shit about how good of a day Chase Elliott had.
He's not a Chase Elliott fan.
Yes. We talked about it.
Good dog. I was going to say shout out to Carson Hocevar hanging out in the top 10 all day as well. I don't know where he ended up finishing. I think he kind of got swallowed up in
He was still in the top 10.
He was, yeah, but he was up to 4th at some points, and just really, yeah. We kind of, you talk about guys like Connor Jones. Carson had kind of a similar coming up in trucks. We've talked about it on the show at length, and this is one of those moments where you could really see him rising to the occasion and understanding his surroundings and bringing it to these guys. Because, again, he was pretty much the only non-playoff guy in the top 10 for a good chunk of the day. So good for him.
AJ
On the
Allmendinger
other
too.
hand,
Yes.
He started way back there and finished in the top 10 too. So good for him.
Yeah, he's probably the DraftKings pickup of the day right there if you put any money on him, which I did not. So
Yeah, same.
just heard from a friend. So
What were you gonna say, Truelove?
I was going to say, on the other hand, Hocefar's teammate, Justin Haley, wrecked twice.
Yeah, the
One time
the
on lap one.
Corey LaJoy stink has just not been cleaned out of that car yet. I hope.
they got to
Well,
power wash that shit.
My theory is that his hands were all greased up from playing with Chili's mozzarella sticks before the race, because he posted a video of him and Hocevar stretching out cheese sticks
Yeah. I don't do
and measuring them.
My theory was the bees. I thought maybe there were a few bees in that car because there was apparently a big bee problem this weekend on the spotter stand. But
Yeah, those videos were nuts.
yeah, I can't believe that shit. I guess we could just get into it now. Yeah, there was a few thousand bees swarming the spotter stand this weekend. Apparently, they were the big fuzzy, safe bumblebees. But as someone who doesn't care about bees at all, fuck that shit, dude.
Yeah, there's no way I could work in that condition.
Absolutely not. As a guy who used to paint houses in his younger days and have to carry a can of wasp spray with him, yeah, I'm all fucking set on that. Yeah, I guess they were. The bees were under like the little overhang that's right directly beneath the spotter stand, and they just decided to pop up
All at once.
all at once for about 30 laps. So yeah, I would have had. You want to talk about come aparts? I would have.
Everyone looked relatively calm, which I guess is the way to do it, because if you start freaking out, it's just gonna
Yeah,
make
bees
it worse,
respond to
but-
that. Yeah, fuck that shit.
No one wrecked her in that period, so
No, not at all.
good job, spotters.
Yeah. Also, before the race, Noah Gragson, speaking of fast food tie-ins, was he sponsored by Wendy's this weekend? I can't remember.
Yes, he was.
He just said beef, so
Yeah, so
beef car.
Oh, that's right. I think he's sponsored by some
Was
other.
it Beefaroo or some shit?
Yeah, Beefaroo.
That's it, yeah. So
Probably.
he tweeted on, I believe it was Saturday, or Sunday morning, he said, gonna hand out beef sliders today, which, would indicate that, and I don't know what happened here, but I imagine he probably got swamped by a bunch of DARFs looking for free cheeseburgers.
NASCAR fans love some free food.
I mean,
so.
I would have tracked down Noah Gragson for a free slider, and it was so bad, I guess he had to clarify and retweet. It said, it went over everyone's head. Driving the beef car, I'm going to be doing slide jobs today. Well, yeah. I guess we
So-
can talk about the end of the race now.
Yeah, I mean, so the end of the race, Tyler Reddick and his crew chief. What the hell? I forget his crew chief's name. What is it? Does anybody know?
I can see his face, but
Well, regardless, the team decided to keep Tyler out front because at least where they're at with track position and all that, they didn't think
Jonathan
they had.
Hassler.
That's
There
not
you
what
go,
I was going to say.
So they decided to keep him out, hoping for a caution, which basically would have kept him in the lead, or theoretically in the lead, after pit stops have cycled through. And unfortunately, it didn't work out the exact way he wanted. It actually kind of worked out in reverse.
Yeah.
Stayed out till around 18-20 to go and had to pit. Right after he pit, he got just about 2 laps in. He was able to get his lap back, and then right after he got his lap back, Kyle Larson decided to try and make a pass when there wasn't a hole for him to actually make a pass.
There was a hole. There was definitely a hole. He just got loose.
There wasn't, because if there was, he wouldn't have spun out. And basically, I mean, if somehow you didn't see it, they were going into turn 3. Blaney and Blaney and Larson
Austin
were
Dillon.
battling
Austin
for
Dillon was on the
position.
top, yeah.
Austin Dillon was up top. People were blaming Austin Dillon for this. He had nowhere to go. He was kind of
He
just.
was out of the way. Yeah,
he
he
did his
did
best.
nothing wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, he
The only
he did
time in
nothing
my
wrong.
life I will not blame Austin Dillon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blaney, I mean, there was a tiny gap there, and Larson tried to get into it and didn't. He nudged both Blaney and Austin Dillon a little bit and spun himself. That brought out the caution. Everybody else pit, and Reddick was able to stay out. Now, from what everybody was saying, even 2 laps on the tires would be a detractor compared to everybody else on fresh tires because, you know, the Miami surface is so rough. But his car owner, Denny Hamlin, put it this way on his show. He theorized that the little extra heat cycle that he got in may have helped like activate the tires better. Somehow maybe just change the compound a little bit to where the tires were just as good, if not better, than everybody who had fresh tires. That was his theory, at least. 8 laps to go, they restart. Denny jumps out to a decent lead. Blaney's chasing him with Reddick in third. Blaney finally gets by, going to the white flag. And going into turn 1, Tyler Reddick was still in third. He runs the bottom. Blaney's in the middle. Denny's up top. Blaney gets around Hamlin. Reddick also gets around Hamlin. Going down the backstretch, it looked like Denny had a run, but when he got to Tyler, the run just kind of faded out. And going into turn 3, Blaney, because the line worked the previous turn, he just decided to stay in the center of the track. He didn't block the top, and Reddick just drove right straight around. And it was one of those things I couldn't believe. Like, I didn't think it was going to work.
Yeah.
And one of the handful of times I actually yelled in my house watching this race because I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. But just the most balls-out victory of the year.
Absolutely, yeah.
And got himself into the Final Four when, you know, going into Martinsville, they knew they really didn't have a shot there, and this was their best chance to win, and pulled it off. And Michael Jordan was there, and he was excited. Denny Hamlin, his car owner, was not as excited.
Yeah,
that's
fair.
It was a very sad interview.
Yeah, I mean, the podcast was definitely less dire than the week prior. You know, he was obviously he's happy for Tyler, and
Yeah, I'm sure he just needed a minute.
He's accepted the fact that he's choked this championship away yet again.
Well, this race though, like his pit crew was actually on fire. Like he actually had good pit stops. He had he put everything he had into that race, and so did the team. And it just didn't work out. I mean, it's just one of those things. There was a lot of passing all day. Again, all the contenders were running up front all day, and it honestly, when the final restart happened, I thought it was Hamlin's. I did not see Reddick coming back. You know. But I'm happy because, you know, I'm a big fan of Tyler. I like all of them, really, but the fact that Tyler got it was just fucking great. So.
I still can't believe Blaney didn't try and block the lane up top, but even so...
It just happened so fast.
Even if he did, I think Tyler was by far the fastest car on the racetrack. I think he could have just ducked to the bottom and got it done there, too.
Yeah, the last lap, he had 6 7/10 of a second on both Denny and Blaney as far as his lap time. So, yeah.
I feel like every driver in their career has those moments that haunt them forever, and I feel like this moment, if Blaney can't win next week, this moment will haunt him the most.
Oh, yeah. No
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, unlike Denny, he's got a championship, so
yeah.
I feel like it's, you know, I'm sure he's going to feel this one for a while, but at the same time, it's like, what else could he have done? He could have driven like more of a dickhead, but that could have taken them both out, you know? So... And he's just not that type of driver, so. No. But yeah, loved it. Probably the best race of the year, start to finish. I mean, again, we said it last week with Vegas, but if this racing doesn't do it for you, you're not a NASCAR fan. Like, just go watch F1 or whatever the fuck else, because this was as good as it gets.
Yeah, it is about as good as you can get these days, that for sure. I mean, everything about that race was great. Again, comers and goers, great strategy happening, action everywhere. Different guys using their skill sets. Again, like the move that Larson tried to pull to get between Austin Dillon and Ryan Blaney that's a sprint car thing, splitting traffic. You know, obviously it didn't work out for him because the hole closed up, but you know, that's his skill set at work there. Obviously it didn't work. And then Tyler Reddick being just a master on the top of the racetrack, you know, that did work out for him. And just, just getting to see all these guys' skills on display, which unfortunately is not something you get to see a lot of the time in this car, was fucking awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, so that brings us to the end of Homestead this year. Now, obviously, with the race of this caliber, and being the fact that it used to be the season finale, of course, this is going to bring up chatter of bringing this race back as the season finale for 2026. And on the surface, I don't know how you don't make that decision. And obviously, NASCAR's moved Homestead's date up to March of next year. A lot of people are theorizing that this will give them plenty of time to get any sort of, track and grandstand and amenities up to speed and up to date, and for a potential 2026 return. I think, unfortunately, the one issue that is still going to be on the table is track attendance. This race was not sold out. Everybody there had a great time, obviously, but it definitely was not sold out, and that's a huge concern for NASCAR. Phoenix sells out every year, and the town or the city, they pump money into getting this race there. And apparently, Homestead, Miami also, as a city, they want the finale back, and I know they're planning on making a bid for it. So I think all of us fans want to see this race back as a season finale, and hopefully it happens. I guess we'll just kind of wait and see what happens over the next year.
Yeah, you just got to go to the racetrack. That's all there is to it. Because you noticed they didn't show the grandstands very much.
No.
And when they did, it was completely fucking empty in certain, in huge sections. And I can completely understand why NASCAR wouldn't want what essentially is their Super Bowl. I mean, people talk about Daytona 500 being the Super Bowl of NASCAR, but let's be honest, when the championship format, it's whatever the last race is. And you don't want empty seats at your championship event, and that's unfortunately what you would get. And I mean, even in years past before, that's partially why they moved it to Phoenix in the first place, was the attendance wasn't all that great. Yeah. So if you want cool shit to happen, you got to show up to it. So
they got to get them a light up palm tree like Phoenix has a cactus. True. That'll bring them out.
Maybe they should stick the start finish line in turn 2 or some shit.
Try it out.
I'm just hoping.
Have a couple friends that were at the race this weekend, and every video that they posted from the grandstands, it definitely looked very sparse.
Yeah.
So.
I'm hoping that with the date in the spring being so close to now, hopefully this race will be fresh in everybody's minds, and everybody that has a chance to attend will. Granted, there's other factors, including the fact that, right now it's football season, and also, let's not forget, Florida just had a massive tornado or tropical storm pop through.
It was all of them.
Yeah, so
they had it all.
I'm sure that was probably at least a little bit of a factor in attendance, but who knows how much. But great race, and now we've got 2 snoozers that Truelove will be at one of them, and we'll all be watching the last one. So
it definitely sucks to be able to put a pin in what we think the last good race of the year is, and there's still a couple of them left.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I don't know. Phoenix won't be horrible. I don't have great faith in Martinsville, but
they're bringing the left side softer tires. We'll
that
see.
is true. Maybe that'll affect it a little bit, but.
And I feel like there's at least 2 or 3 drivers that are in a must-win situation. So
yeah,
I think it's mildly entertaining.
Yeah,
that's true. Well, moving on to better news. With NASCAR,
justice.
Yes, with NASCAR returning to Bowman Gray Stadium for the first time since the 70s in the spring, it was announced, I think the day after we recorded last week, that Bobby Allison. So he won a Grand National race there in 1971, and he was never officially credited with the win, even though he got the trophy and the money and all that stuff, because this was a weird period of time where in the what was then known as the Grand National Series, now the Cup Series, they had what was the sportsman division cars. Some of them were. It was
Grand
kind
American.
of a dual.
Grand, it was like
Grand American, yes.
Pony cars.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a handful of races that both of these cars could enter as Grand National cars. Later on in the season, Tiny Lund won in a similar fashion, and his win was credited, but Bobby Allison's never was. The race never had an official winner. Even Richard Petty. He said no. He said I shouldn't be credited either. Bobby shouldn't because he wasn't in a Cup car. Well. Long story short, 50 years later...
Shut up, Richard.
Yeah. 50 years later, Bobby Allison...
It's Rob and Truelove's turn to disrespect the king.
53 years later, Bobby Allison was finally credited with his 85th win, which now puts him solely in possession of the 4th all-time Cup Series winner.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Now, Darrell Waltrip has to lobby to get his win back from Brett Bodine, I suppose, and keep this battle going. But
while we're righting wrongs.
yeah, I mean, there's a bunch. I mean, people brought up Mark Martin and Regan Smith too, as far as people that should get some credit. But that's a rabbit hole that I don't know how far down NASCAR wants to dive. So.
Yeah. Well, I think the unique situation about this one is, A, it's just so far in the past. And B, they're not taking a win away from somebody else. There was just no winner on the table. And not to mention, I haven't heard anything regarding Bobby's health, but he is getting pretty old. And I would imagine if they were going to try and reinstate a win for him or do something special like this, they'd want to do it before, Bobby passes at some point, which, he's how old is Bobby Allison now? He's 90?
He's mid-80s, and he looks it. I mean, he doesn't look like Richard. He looks his age, so. Yeah,
no matter, even if he lives to be the oldest man in the world, there's still not a ton of time left on this earth for Bobby Allison, which is a damn shame. So I'm glad NASCAR did this while he was still able to take the time to celebrate it and really see his name pop right above Darrell Waltrip's on the all-time list. I'm sure that felt pretty good.
Yeah.
There was a picture of Mike Helton and Jim France standing with him. They both had a hand on his shoulder, which kind of looked like a sage PR. Like, hey, I know we're in this lawsuit right now, but if we do this nice thing...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's a little bit of diversion tactic there involved, I think, too. So, but regardless... It's still great to see. So.
Yeah.
In other great news, John Force made his first public statement since his wreck in Richmond months ago.
Yeah.
He has now been cleared to go to Las Vegas for the, I don't know if I think it's the NHRA finals, right? Or if it's not the finals, it's just the next race. But he put out a little statement saying thank you to everybody that supported him and stood by him throughout this, and still looks and sounds the same.
He sounded a little more normal to me, slightly more sane.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jonathan Force.
his speech patterns and stuff were pretty similar as to when he was on like the Download a few years ago. Maybe a little more subdued. He wasn't screaming as loud as he normally is, which is to be expected. But
knocked him down a few decibels.
Yeah. It remains to be seen if he'll get back in the car. I mean, I don't want to say I hope he gets back in. I do hope he gets back in, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't. So it just sucks that that's how his career, if his career ends, that's the way it ends, because, I mean, he was in the running for the title again this year at 75 years old. So,
again, I agree. You want to see him do it again, but if he doesn't, at least he was in the championship fight and went out on as close to the top as you can go.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just glad he's recovered and it wasn't worse than it could have, been.
Mm-hmm.
So,
for sure.
Could have been bad.
From here, let's see. There's an Uncle Kenny update.
I watched this video like 5 times.
Yeah. I don't know what this was. What brought this on? Just unsolicited Uncle Kenny on a Saturday morning. It's him and one of those little like cactus planters, that
dancing cactus that repeats what you say.
Yeah, and he was singing George Jones' number there, and it's really
He Stopped
good.
Loving Her Today.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It's just him and the cactus, and it is. He's one of us, folks.
Cracking himself up.
Yeah, he was having a good time. So we haven't talked about Uncle Kenny as much over the past few weeks. At least not in this sense. And it was nice to get some non-racing content out of him, since he's been pretty much a pundit again over the year. So it seems like he's had some time off. And now he's...
Well, he said, I watched a video yesterday that he put out, and he said, I think today, that he and Kenny Schrader were going to do their first test episode of the podcast. So
very cool.
Wonder if that'll get released. I think it's just the Kenny and Kenny show.
Yeah, what else could it be?
Yeah.
Stacking Kenny's.
Stacking Kenny.
While that's a good name, I'd rather not have any even minor association with Corey LaJoy.
That's at least the name of this episode. So.
Well, I didn't come up with that, to be fair. Someone else had suggested it to Uncle Kenny, and he had put it out to the masses and was getting very mixed reviews on it. So,
yeah. Just like stacking pennies.
Yeah.
In less positive news, although not totally shocking, I guess, it sounds like John Hunter Nemechek might be out of the Legacy Motorsports ride next year, which...
What a depressing career arc for that guy. to leave Front Row Motorsports and having pretty much what I gather was a seat for as long as he needed it, right? And then Toyota to come in and promise him a cup ride in the future, which at that point pretty much meant Joe Gibbs.
Yeah.
Like there was nobody else really, maybe 2311. You know, there's like 6 Toyotas out there. And to drop back to the trucks and just put your cup career on ice, only to end up getting put in one of Jimmy Johnson's little shit boxes and get booted for the next guy in the Toyota pipeline, which is Corey Heim. And again, that hasn't been announced yet. It's just as purely rumor mill shit. So who knows if it's actually going to happen, but god damn, how depressing is that?
Yeah.
Poor fucking guy.
I'm
If
not
I
a
liked him,
fan.
I'd feel bad for him, but
Yeah.
I don't.
Same.
We didn't mention this earlier either when we were talking about Xfinity news, but after the Xfinity Series race, Chandler Smith told Bob Puckers that he might be working for his dad's construction company next year.
Which I know we've talked about how none of us are really fans of him, but I mean he's got 2 wins this season. It's pretty surprising to hear.
He's definitely higher up in the talent list than some other guys that'll have rides next year. And that was a little shocking to hear because, I mean, he'd been linked with all sorts of cup rides for next year. And, it looks like, I don't know how much of the charter shit that's going down with the lawsuits and all that has an effect with this or what's happening. But, yeah, it kind of seems like he might lose the game of musical chairs here. So that's definitely surprising. Chandler Smith was not the guy I expected to be out. But I guess we'll see. Maybe that's just him being dramatic, you know?
I could see that from him, for sure. Offended by the Super Bowl. Yeah.
That could be true.
I can't see him swinging a hammer at a construction company, but maybe he can.
He's organizing spreadsheets and refilling the water.
He's making the lunch runs.
Yeah.
It looks like on Monday there was a wet weather tire test on an intermediate track at Homestead that involved Ryan Preece and I forget who else. Obviously a couple other drivers, but
I think Bowman. I can't remember who else.
Yeah, but Ryan Preece was driving the 6. He was driving the 6 car.
He was in the 6. Which
60.
Yeah, that's telling, I would say.
And then, apparently on XM, I forget who it was from NASCAR, but an actual NASCAR official who was talking about the tire test accidentally mentioned that that's Ryan's ride for next year. So
it was Brad Moran.
That's it. It was Brad Moran, yeah.
I mean, again, I think we all know that that's where he's going. They just haven't announced it yet, so it is what it is.
But yeah, that's pretty cool. Again, I've talked about that on episodes past, and I'm very excited to see Ryan get another shot. So...
Yeah,
Did he
same.
get a top 10 this weekend?
He did.
He did. So another, great showing from him. I shouldn't say another one. I mean, he hasn't had too many great ones this year. But I mean, all the Stewart-Haas cars were pretty decent this weekend.
Yeah, they
like
definitely.
Chase Briscoe was running the top 15 most of the race.
Yeah, it seems like that team is definitely really working hard to go out in a high note.
Yeah. Which
I guess when we're in Charlotte next week, I'll have to stop by SHR and pick up our discount Riley Herbst T-shirts from the gift shop.
85% off.
Deep discounted. Riley Herbst and Daniel Suarez merchandise from like 6 years ago.
They pay us to take it.
Yeah. It's just by the pound.
It's like,
yeah, somehow the Kevin Harvick fire suits are still like $800. So go figure.
Yet another nicotine pouch brand has entered the NASCAR sponsorship fray. 21 is the name of this brand, although their name is
you never
spelled
know it.
2-1.
are you sure? Are you sure
Yes,
that's what
100%.
it is?
Yes, because past guest Mike, he actually buys these. He says because if you go on their website, you can get like a 10-pack for $6 or something, and you get 21 pouches as opposed to 20, which is that's why hence the name, I would say.
Yeah. Have they ever seen the number 21 spelt out?
It's for the listeners who can't see it. It's the number 2 followed by the word 1,
and the number 2
together.
Looks suspiciously like a Z, which is also Zone is also a nicotine pouch company.
Yeah. So my brain wanted to say Zone, but it could see the 2, so it was like Tuone.
2-1. Yeah.
2-1.
Yeah, but they're sponsoring MBM and Chad Fensham coming up here, which is about the only place a company like that would. And by the way, where the fuck did he come from?
Well,
I've forgotten about Chad Fensham.
I don't know why his name is on this, because I got this announcement saying Josh Bilicki was going to be in the car. So
I had Fensham on the.
Well, I know.
driver.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But the announcement I got was with Bilicki. So
Maybe Josh is going to be wearing.
Maybe they don't know yet.
Yeah.
They haven't decided.
And I guess our final news note is a depressing one. There was a little video put out of the giant, I believe, Amazon warehouse that's right next to what's left of the Fontana track, and
it's not right next to it's on the track.
So I know when this whole reconfiguration was announced that they were going to keep part of the pits in the front stretch or whatever, and incorporate that into the half-mile oval they were planning on building. But I don't see how that's possible, because like the end of what's left of the track is like 50 feet from the warehouse. There's zero chance you can put a track there. So I don't know what's going to happen to that property, but I highly doubt there's going to be another NASCAR track built there.
Yeah. Also, this is going to be part of the septic tank, but we'll just say it now. This got posted on the same day that Irwindale announced that they're closing at the end of this season. Their last event's going to be on December 21st. There's going to be a non-points Arco West feature, so that's going to be a barn burner. But yeah, so the two remaining ovals in Southern California, besides Kern, are gone. And that's a damn shame. And I know Irwindale closing has been something that's been said for like the past 300 years, it seems. They're always closing, but it really does seem like this time is the final straw, and this, especially them announcing a lot of the marquee events that were at Irwindale being moved to Kern County is just it doesn't look good. So to get I don't think this was planned by any means to put both of these out in the same day. Just a sad coincidence to show you the state of how things are in California right now when it comes to asphalt racing. Fucking bummer.
Yeah. That pretty much wraps up the news. So now it's time for the DARF of the week, and this was one that I found.
This is so ridiculous.
So Matthew Weaver, who he's a NASCAR reporter, does a lot of good work. On his Facebook page, he was trying to explain the charter stuff with the injunction and all that, and so Rob, here's my idea for reading this. One of us should be Michael and the other one should be Matt. Who wants to be who?
Which would you rather be? You want to be Matt Weaver, the smart guy?
Yeah, I'll be Matt.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Okay. Hang on.
So this guy, Michael Guyden, who was commenting on this post, Matt tweeted a screenshot of this interaction with just the caption, "Lord help me." Rob, take it away.
Oh boy, I got to try and pick a non-offensive voice for this. Let's see.
Well, it's just a dumb white guy, so you don't have
I'd
to
really
make
like
it.
to know what exactly a permanent charter means, because BJ McLeod, or McLeod, because I'm an idiot, sold his charter. Furniture Row sold his charter, and the past charters have been leased or rented, however you want to look at it. SHR is selling 3 charters. The fact alone that this has happened is the very opposite definition of permanent.
Michael, you don't understand the concept. A permanent charter would be akin to a franchise. Sports teams are sold all the time. Those are permanent assets.
Well, you don't understand the dictionary. A charter is a charter, a franchise is a franchise, or are you one of those confused people who thinks a boy is a girl and a girl's your uncle?
So I went and found this interaction, and like there's a couple more people there's a couple more people that reply to this and just call out Michael. And another thing he says is like, I got a real education. These new kids don't know how to read cursive. And I clap back at him and was like, well, motherfucker. He said, as a child of the 80s, I have a good education. This, that, and the other thing. I clapped back at him and he never responded. As someone who was also a child of the 80s, I can tell your education was shit because both your punctuation and your reading comprehension is just awful.
I was just going to say that. I definitely learned how to use periods and commas in elementary school in the 80s. So, yeah, what a fucking moron. Oh, since you found it, what's his sentence, Brien?
Death. Die. Those are always going to be my sentences. You should all just die.
It's always full jihad from...
Yep. Fuck it. Peace out.
Shit. Well, let's get into the fun stuff here. I know y'all both did some really cool sort of throwback stuff this weekend. I guess we'll start with Truelove. You were at the Moonshiners reunion.
Well, you've called it the Moonshiners Reunion, and I think on Sunday you called it the Moonshiners Revival.
Was I wrong both times?
You were wrong.
Moonshiners Festival?
Mountain Moonshine Festival.
Not even close, yeah.
Yeah, well, you tried.
I did.
Any of those could have worked. But yeah, it's just an annual, like, fall festival that they do in Dawsonville, but it's huge. I think this year was their 57th annual one, and I got there real early just to beat the crowd because there's nothing I hate more than a fall festival crowd at peak hours. But I got there like 8 a.m. But it's just they had a ton of like old NHRA drag cars out there, like Hubert Platt, Ed Skelton, Jim Kennett. They had a ton of like old gassers parked out there. They always have a huge car show with so many cool vehicles. They do a parade of a bunch of like 30s, 40s, 50s stock cars. Let's see what else. This year their what do you call it? Grand Marshal was Ronnie Sanders, who kind of a Georgia short track guy. I think he's won 500 races, 9 championships. He ran in 3 Daytona 500s in the 80s. Just an old guy waving in the back of a car, really. I did read that he set the speed record at Bristol in 1987 that lasted for 10 years. So,
shit.
Good for you, Ronnie.
You also got to see Ken Reagan screaming on his cell phone, right?
I did. I had sat down for a minute, and they said that they were about to do the opening ceremonies, which is always silly, but then after that they were going to do a driver's autograph session, and they rattled off a bunch of names over the loudspeaker, and it was a bunch of like old local short track guys that, I'll be honest, I was not familiar with any of the names. But they did rattle off Ken Reagan in that list in between there. I was like, oh, well, Ken's here. I guess David was busy, but Ken showed up. And I guess while they were getting set up for that, I just spotted him in the crowd. He was by himself talking on speakerphone, but he was holding it up to his ear and yelling into it. And I guess someone was lost and he was trying to find them, but it went on for a very long time. So
you took a photo of him, and if you zoom in, he is just like glaring at you.
I was waiting. He kept like kind of walking in circles, and I was like, I want to get a picture of him, but I want to be able to see his face. I was like, God, please don't catch me. Please don't catch me. And he got me.
Oh man,
whatever.
That's good stuff.
But yeah, they do it at the Georgia Racing Hall of Fame. So Cindy Elliott was there. She kind of runs the museum these days. Chase's mom, Bill's wife. They've recently done some upgrades to the museum, so this is my first time seeing those. They added some what you call them? Simulators. That's what they're called.
Yeah.
And I also noticed that they put a huge new mural inside the museum, and it's a painting of Chase Elliott's car, which is to be expected because it's basically an Elliott museum.
Yeah.
And then he is racing Austin Hill in his Xfinity car, and then way off, smaller in the distance, was Chandler Smith. So all the local legends up there, they might have to paint over Chandler.
I was just gonna say they had to make him small just in case he goes back to construction.
They had to paint up the construction company truck.
They still got Aaron Cocker's 410 sprint car in there for some reason.
They do. It was sitting in the lobby on Saturday.
Nice.
But yeah.
Still don't get that one.
Yeah. Just that museum is pretty random, but there is a bunch of cool shit in there. But yeah, it was a fun little Saturday morning for me, doing
Nice.
Dawsonville things. So.
Nice. Yeah, you've talked about it before. I don't know if you've talked about it on the show or not, but yeah, that does sound like a fun time.
Yeah, I try to go every year. I didn't get to go last year because I was at Martinsville, but it worked out this year, so.
Nice.
But yeah, on to Brian's big trip.
Yeah, I guess this is the start of the septic tank here, so let's all climb on in and close the door, and Brien can get the flashlight out and tell us some spooky stories about the revival of the late great and no longer late Pennsboro Speedway.
Yeah, so, it was announced early this year in the spring that Pennsboro is going to be coming back. And, when it was first announced, they planned on running like a 1/8 or a 1/4 mile track inside of the old oval. But work went on for a few months, and then all of a sudden it got real quiet, and nobody knew what the hell was going on. And they were supposed to be running Memorial Day weekend. Then it was announced that race was canceled, and they were just going to go back to the big track. And going there and seeing this facility, I don't know how they would have been able to run on the small track, because that small track was like a go-kart track. Like, big cars just would not have worked there. So they postponed those dates, and just were going to run the Mason-Dixon 100, which is what I went to. Pennsboro is only not even 3 hours from me, and I love the episode of Lost Speedways. If you haven't seen that, you need to, because it's great.
So good.
And when this was announced, I was like, I gotta go. Like, I have to go see this, and especially after the World 100 and how good of a race that was. Being psyched on super late models, like, all right, I gotta go. Knowing that it wasn't going to be the greatest race in the world. The entry list was not too packed. I mean, it was a lot of locals, and then, you had Bobby Pierce, Devin Moran, Nick Hoffman, and Tyler Carpenter as the big names.
That's right. Tyler Carpenter, baby.
Yep.
The whole family was there. Freddie was there, too.
Hanging out with his wife.
I did buy a T-shirt from her. She is quite the babe, with a much deeper voice than I would have guessed. Unfortunately, I got there a bit late to get any of the track merch. Like, they were all sold out of T-shirts. Unfortunately, I did get a Devin Moran Pennsboro special edition shirt.
Nice.
So that was cool. So yeah,
You're not going to mention the Tyler Carpenter shirt you bought?
I did get a Tyler Carpenter shirt that's kind of it's Back to the Future themed, with his DeLorean painted up with it as his car. Kind of a stupid shirt, but I was like, all right,
I think it's kick-ass.
Stupid shirt for a stupid guy.
Young alimony, fucking Tyler Carpenter.
Some of this stuff is going to kind of bleed into the video of the week discussion, because once we talk about that video, that'll kind of, some of the comparisons will come back. But so driving into the track, it was a very easy drive for me. It was basically just south on 77, straight from Cleveland for a little over 2 hours, and then you get off this one exit, and it's just a half hour, and then you're there. I didn't really know what parking was going to be like. So when I rolled up, basically you turn into the road for the speedway, and within a couple hundred feet, you can kind of see the track off the main road. I just parked. I saw people parking on the side of the road, which apparently that's the thing there. Like, I parked at the top of the hill and just walked down, maybe about a 1/4 mile. There were cars lining this road. There were also cars filling there's a Save-A-Lot supermarket right behind turn 2. That was full of cars. People were just parking everywhere. So I walked down, and as you're walking down, it's like, okay, I can understand why they have ticket sales problems, because you can very much see the track walking down that street, and that's where I watched the end of the race, which we'll get to. So yeah, walking down there, you just kind of walk down this hill, and then all of a sudden there's a fucking racetrack. And, the track was pretty similar to, the old days as far as the layout and whatnot. I saw the old tunnel underneath the turn 2, and they wouldn't let me walk underneath there, unfortunately. I wanted to walk underneath there, but you had to cross over on the front stretch. I got my pit pass, and because that's the only way you could sit on the hillside, which... unfortunately, the hillside that was talked about and legendary as far as being this party zone is not that anymore. All
those folks are dead now.
Yeah, well, that too. But they've dug out the hillside, and they put temporary bleachers there, and I have to assume they're going to put permanent bleachers there next year. But that's where I stood. I was basically in turn 4 for most of the racing action. I got there right as the hot laps for... so the previous night's feature was rained out. So I got to see 75 of the Mason-Dixon 100 laps, which was cool. So the makeup feature was won by Deb Moran. Pretty much had the lead the whole time. Wasn't much of a race. But I guess he was fast the night before and was planning on sweeping everything, which he did. Kind of walked around the grounds after that. They had food trucks set up, and the merch was in turn 2. They had... I don't even know if they had beer for sale. I mean, I had my own. I didn't see anybody selling any, which was weird. But, again, coolers didn't matter, so I just had my own shit with me. But honestly, it was too cold to drink anyways. By the end of the night, getting in my car, it was 45 degrees. So, much worse than Eldora the month prior. Made it very difficult.
Was it?
Yes. It was in the 50s at Eldora. It was not in the 40s. I can promise.
Not in my rental car, I can tell you that much.
Well, either way, it was cold as goddamn hell, and it's the last time I wear a NASCAR jacket to the track, because those things are just not warm enough. They only had, the super late models, and then the 604 late models. They had a feature also, and I couldn't tell you what the hell was going on there. The heat races for the main event were fine. The only thing to really note, and probably the best racing I saw the whole night, there was a local kid named Kyle Thomas he was driving this all black with just a little bit of orange trim, 0 sponsors on it, car number 57. And in his heat race, he started 3rd, and early on got kind of caught up in turn 1 and 2, and not quite a wreck, but just got in the loose stuff and lost a bunch of track position. But managed to race his way back up to the front, and in the last corner made an incredible pass off the nose of whatever car was in first place. Like, just beautiful pass, and everybody in the crowd erupted. It was very cool to see. I didn't know who the kid was. I had to look it up after the fact, but that was probably the best thing I saw all weekend. Food and stuff, they just had a bunch of food trucks set up, which, for not having all the permanent stuff, all the permanent facilities ready to go yet, that was fine.
All the finest local West Virginia cuisine.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, it was all basic shit. For some reason, they had a hibachi truck there, which, I don't know, not to try to play up stereotypes, but I don't feel like Asian food does the best in West Virginia, but who knows?
Or at Pennsboro Speedway.
Well,
little dust on your lo mein there.
Yeah. I went and found... the weirdest thing I could find, there was like a barbecue truck, and... they were selling like steak on a stick and stuff, and they also had something called Steve's Sloppy Meat. So I was like, all right, I gotta get that. And as I was ordering it, it was kind of explained.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I sent the photo to you guys.
How tall was Steve when you met him?
Anyways, so as I was ordering this, the customer behind me was asking what was in it, and basically it was just a sloppy Joe made with ground steak. It was good. It was a little sweet. for my taste. Like, it was less tomato based and more like molasses. It was fine. Maybe it gave me the bubble guts 5 in the morning. It was either that or
Of course it did.
it was either that or the pepperoni roll I had on the way home. One of those two.
That sounds like a combination effort there. The assist to the pepperoni roll.
It could have been either one.
Station pepperoni roll.
They're so good though. Oh, like they're apparently like a West Virginia staple, which I didn't really know, but there was like an entire fucking rack of different brands of pepperoni rolls at this gas station I stopped on the way home, and I wish I brought like 10 of them home. They're that good. So anyways,
when you drive down to Charlotte next week, you can pick us up some.
Yeah, please do.
I will be driving down that way, so that is potential.
Yeah, bring some delicacies from your journey, please.
So getting on to the racing itself, the main event. So, again, we mentioned you've got Bobby Pierce, Tyler Carpenter, Nick Hoffman, and Devin Moran. Those are the 4 main guys, and it was pretty much their race. Bobby Pierce started off on the pole, and around lap 7, all of a sudden he slowed down. He got a flat, so he had to pull off and change.
Yeah.
My plan, because I wanted to get out of there as soon as I could, I started off watching in turn 4, and I slowly kind of made my way back around as the race was happening. So I think after 15 or 20 laps, I started walking around. I got to turn 2 and was watching there for a minute, and Nick Hoffman pulled off, and he had a flat also. Tyler Carpenter also pulled off like the first 10 laps and just never came back in the race. I have no idea what happened to him. After Bobby pulled off, it was pretty much it was pretty much Devin's race for it's pretty much Devin's race for like 20-30 laps. And when I went from turn 2 to the hillside, because I was going to watch the last 15-20 laps from where all the people were watching on the road, Bobby Pierce managed to get back up to the lead. There were a few cautions while I was up there. I ended up talking randomly to this older gentleman who, probably in his 50s or 60s, bigger guy in like a T-Mac hoodie. And he just kind of starts talking to me, and we're talking about different races and shit and where we've been. And he was asking me, like, where'd you come from? And I was like, Cleveland. And he was just like, Cleveland? Like, he couldn't believe I drove from Cleveland. It wasn't even 3 hours. And this guy had a very deep accent. I thought he was a local. And I asked him, and he's like, I'm from Pittsburgh. What the fuck? Like, I would have never have guessed Pittsburgh talking to this guy. And I looked it up. Pittsburgh's only 20 minutes closer than Cleveland. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I didn't even drive 3 hours to get here.
I mean, to be fair, I think most people don't know where Cleveland is on a map.
It's right by the fucking lake. It's very easy to find.
It feels far.
There's a whole thing between
Pretty much
Pittsburgh.
Canada.
There's a whole thing between Pittsburgh and Cleveland, so whatever.
That's funny.
Also, I should mention this guy. He had some sort of tick or something, because like when he would go to say something to you, he would kind of like his wrists and his face would shake like he was sneezing, and then he would say what he had to say. It was very strange.
It was cold outside.
It was cold. Again, it was 45 at this point. So there was a caution with 8 to go, and I was like, okay. And with the last couple restarts, like Bobby Pierce would just take off, and that was it. So they restart with 8 to go, 1 lap to go. Like, the leaders take the white flag, but behind them they start wrecking, and somebody puts a hole in the goddamn fence. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So they just stopped the race, and they were going to do a 1-lap shootout. But I was like, I'm not waiting around a half an hour for this fence to get fixed. I'm going home. And I did. And Bobby Pierce won anyways.
Yeah.
So,
that's 2 for 2 for you this year, Brien.
That is true. I didn't get to tell him that he won me $150. I should have done that.
Yeah, he might appreciate it. We'll go say hi to him at the finals.
Yeah, but it was a good time. I mean, I will definitely go back next year, hopefully for a race that's in warmer conditions. I had fun. It was interesting to see Tyler Carpenter work on his car, which the other big name guys weren't doing. So that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, him and his family, like Kryptonite Chassis, that's the family business. And say what you will about Tyler, but those guys work really hard on their race cars, and they do a lot of big things with what they have.
Yeah, he is a very, very tiny man also. Probably like 5'5", 5'6", and I would guess 120 pounds.
Elfish.
He's little.
Very small guy, yeah.
So yeah, if you get a chance to go to Pennsboro, go, because even though the racing isn't the greatest I've ever seen, it's just a very cool experience to go there. I mean, knowing the racing history, and they had Jim Dunn's car that was in the Lost Speedways episode, pacing the field, which was cool. And
for those of you who don't know, again, watch that episode of Lost Speedways, because the Jim Dunn story is the ultimate underdog story in racing.
Yeah, it is. It's a very great story, and. But yeah, I mean, I'm anxious to see what they get put together for next year. I mean, they said there's going to be a new configuration next year, and in saying that, it's still going to be a half-mile track. I think really they're going to widen the bridges, because there's a couple different bridges on the track, and just widen the track overall. So it'll be a different track next year, but still essentially the same thing. They're going to put in permanent walls and permanent lights and that type of stuff. So. Interested to see what happens to the property in the coming years, but I definitely plan on going back for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad that place is open. Again, it sounded like it wasn't going to be for a little while, despite all the hype. But yeah, definitely, we've said this a bunch of times on the show. You hear about racetracks closing all the time. We just talked about one before we started the segment, and you don't get to see the old ones pop up and open up again very often. So this is fucking awesome news.
Two years in a row I've done this, and probably next year it'll be 3 when I go back to Rockingham. So.
No
now,
shit.
You were telling us earlier that you lit a porta potty on fire for one.
I did not light a porta potty on fire. Apparently that did happen, but it must have happened after I left, because I did not see that shit at all.
That's what arsonists say,
Yeah. Whatever.
They're lighting hairspray on fire. Yeah. Plastic takes a while to catch, so. You already had a pizza roll in your hand by the time. Excuse me, pepperoni roll.
Pepperoni roll on fire and tossed it in the John.
Oh man, yeah, very jealous. I definitely want to get out there at some point with you.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to experience that. I'm a little bummed about the hillside, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it in the video of the week, because it is just not that experience. And again, it was also October and cold as hell, and it was definitely an older crowd. Nobody was really partying, I'll say that. I mean, it was definitely just people were happy to be there and watch racing, but maybe next year will be a bit more lively.
Well, I was saying this to you guys before we started the show. I feel like this particular event, there was a lot of skepticism going into it.
Yeah.
From drivers, teams, fans, whatever. And it's like, let's see what this is like before we go back out there and freeze our asses off. And I think the show that they put on was definitely good enough. I mean, just a testament to how good Bobby Pierce is right now, working his way all the way from the back at a place that you allegedly can't pass at. He worked the traffic perfectly and got up there and got the win. So, especially if they widen this thing out a little bit and kind of bring it up to modern standards a little bit, I think the next time they come back, maybe you'll see a few more people there.
I mean, not to get ahead of ourselves, but I think what I saw Saturday was better than the racing that was on the video of the week this week. So, if that tells you anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. Well, let's finish up the septic tank here. There was some big-time short-track racing this weekend, other than what was happening at the Mason-Dixon 100 at Pennsboro. The NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour wrapped up its season at Martinsville. Once again, NASCAR putting that race on an even further and more remote island than they did when they had it on Thursday before the big Cup weekend. But Justin Bonsignor convincingly winning that race and the title. It's his third race win in a row this year, and Ron Silk just... I don't know. He just kind of laid down the past few races. I don't really know what happened there, but they have just not had the pace, and that was definitely the case here. Ronnie would get up to about 7th, and there's a couple points where he was closer to the front off tire strategy and then just would fall to the back, and yeah, what a bummer. But hey, Justin Bonsignor, he's the best in the business right now, and he's got another title on the old CV there. Also, shout out to the the Smart Modified Tour guys, Luke Baldwin and Carson Lofton, going out there and putting on a good show, particularly Luke Baldwin, really showing that he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in modifieds. A great show. Again, I just wish it had something a little bit more to do with what was actually happening next weekend at Martinsville, because it's kind of...
I feel like that draws a bigger crowd that way.
Yeah, when you already have a big event happening, it looked like nobody was there except for the teams, which is a huge bummer. One thing I will say about next season is that, of course, the Modified Tour just dropped its new schedule. A lot of cool stuff on there, but the thing that impressed me the most about it was that the Wheel and Modified Tour is going to be the support event for the NASCAR All-Star race. They'll be racing right before the heats roll off, so that's a cool. big stage for those guys, and at a track where they, this year's race was all right. It's nothing to write home about really, but a lot of that had to do with the fact that there just weren't that many cars out there, and I think. And it was, it was a rescheduled race too, so a lot of guys couldn't get all their shit down there. But I think having it on such a big stage at a time where it's not being kind of shoehorned in the schedule, I think you'll see a few more cars and a lot more of the smart guys showing up. And I think we'll have us a hell of a show. Hopefully that ends up on TV. I'm sure it won't, but whatever. It is what it is. But I'm very much looking forward to the Modified Tour next year, with the lone exception of the fact that they've moved the Thompson Icebreaker up to March, which is almost a death sentence for it to be absolutely god-awful cold. You want to bitch about 45 degrees, brother? Come see me in March next year for the Icebreaker. That's going to be fucking terrible.
I'm not ashamed to admit I fucking hate the cold. I don't want to sit out in the goddamn cold. I just don't want to do it.
See, I'm the opposite. I would much rather be in the cold than in the heat. Because at least I can layer up,
They both suck, don't get me wrong.
I can't take my skin off. There's only so much I can take
That's how
off.
I feel about it. I'm definitely dreading sitting out at Bowman Gray in February, but
yeah,
it's better than 100 degrees in Atlanta, July.
That's fucking right. Over on the dirt side of things, the World of Outlaws went to the ditch in West Memphis, Arkansas. That's Riverside. That's its Christian name. Carson Macedo won the prelim night. A lot of local guys there. Landon Crawley put on a show as well, making the show and kind of running in the top 5, top 10 all night. So that was cool to see. David Gravel finished second, keeping his championship lead. Had a nice, I think it's about a cool 75 points, something like that, going into the World Finals. And of course, Saturday got prematurely rained out. I guess some rain showers moved through, and the World of Outlaws canceled preemptively before they even had a chance to get the show going because the grounds were saturated, to which everybody in eastern Arkansas called bullshit because they've been in a drought and the grounds were dry. So a lot of people super pissed off at the World of Outlaws right now for canceling that race. And honestly, I would say rightfully so. I don't have a dog in the fight, really. But I'd be pretty pissed if the track actually was fine and they just sent everybody home. That sucks, but whatever. Like I said, don't have a dog in that fight. And David Gravel leads Carson Macedo going into the finals here. It's funny because I was thinking to myself that the World Finals were kind of far off in the distance. I had forgotten that it was literally next fucking week. So it's like, God damn, I got to wait like 3 weeks. No, it's next Thursday. So, which we'll be there for that. One more note about the World of Outlaws and sprint cars in general. The rumor mill is cranking right now. There's all sorts of silly season stuff happening, but I think the biggest piece here that I've come across is that Houston Speedway, which is, of course, is David Gravel's sponsor in the World of Outlaws, and they're currently on the Dirt Vision platform and host a couple of big events, the Houston's High Bank Nationals and a couple others as part of the World of Outlaws tour. The big rumor is that they're switching over to High Limit next season. And with that being Big Game Motorsports, that's David Gravel's team, being sponsored by Husitz, there's a big rumor that maybe David Gravel will defect from the Outlaws and go over to High Limit as well. That's all speculation at this point. If that did happen, that would be a huge deal. Another major sprint car star defecting and going over to the High Limit side of things. Again, we'll see how that goes. We're not quite to the point in silly season where we're starting to see who's showing up where, but I think you're going to see some pretty similar stuff here. I think not too many crazy changes here other than maybe Jacob Allen doing sort of an outlaw, traditional outlaw, not World of Outlaw, like kind of choose your own adventure schedule. And I think a couple other drivers might do that as well. And then, but if David Gravel were to leave the Outlaws, especially after what I assume will be a title-winning season, that would be quite the coup there. That just kind of leaves Sheldon Hodenshield over there and Logan Schuchart and Donnie Schatz and I don't know, fucking Bill Baylog. I don't know who the fuck is left.
There's not many names. I'll tell you that.
So
much.
Bill Baylog might get that title eventually. So. Oh man, but yeah, we're getting down to the end of it, folks. There's less and less happening as we go on. I think the biggest show to watch this weekend is going to be the what is it called? It's not the World Championship. That was at Eldora. There's a big event happening at the Charlotte Dirt Track leading into the World Finals. I think it's the Dirt Track Championship is what it's called, but forgive me if I'm incorrect about that. Basically, every goddamn dirt division imaginable is going to be running there if there's fenders on it. All manner of X mods, B mods, fucking S mods. I don't know. You pick them. They're there. And they're going to be running from, I believe, Thursday night all the way until Sunday. And then, of course, next week is the World Finals, which the three of us will be there. We've said it on the show for the past month. If you want to hang out with us, we'll all be at the finals. I'm getting there on Thursday. I'll be there for 3 nights, and I believe Truelove and Brien will be getting there on Friday. So you'll get a couple nights with us. And I don't know if they're going to stick around and watch the big cup race on Sunday or not, but I will not be.
I think I am.
But yeah, we'll be hanging out in Charlotte. So I know that's probably the best chance that our listeners will have to come hang out with us. And if you want to have a beer, please come say what's up. And I'm sure we'll have a nice Applebee's date as well if you guys want to spend
also
30.
literally meet us at Applebee's.
Yes. Spend $30 and get diarrhea or something, which is what I imagine is going to happen.
Exactly the plan. We literally spent 30 minutes before the show started going over the Applebee's menu together.
That's true. Yeah, I look forward to taking out a second mortgage on my house for how much I'm going to spend there. And yeah, talking about intestinal distress, I can't think of a better way to flush the septic tank down than that. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. But I guess we're not really out of the septic tank because this week's video of the week is pretty much an extension of what we just talked about. So,
yeah, more or less. So yeah, this was a fan cam video that I found of the 2001 Freedom 100 at West Virginia Motor Speedway and also the Dirt Track World Championships at Pennsboro.
Yeah. How do you unflush a septic tank? Can you do that?
Gotta get the plunger out. So many gross noises.
Anyway, this video fucking rules. I'm so stoked to talk about this.
So I don't know anything about who the people were that filmed this or whatever, but there was a lot of stuff going on in this video.
Yeah.
So it starts off with the first of about 600 shots of a hauler. If you like transporter footage, there's quite a bit of it in this video.
So
And
much of it.
you get some butt rock blasting. I think there's a second of Alice in Chains, and then Fuel is the soundtrack for their
That
drive.
brought back some
Shimmer by
memories right
Fuel.
there.
Yeah.
This was October 2001. If that gives you a perspective as to what was going on in the country and the world at this time.
Yeah.
So
Post 9/11 for all you fucking Gen Z
yes.
folks out
16-year-old
there.
me was listening to some Fuel.
Yeah. I will say that you don't get to see a lot of these fan cam videos where it's just footage of driving into the racetrack.
Yeah.
You know, to me, that this intro here is so special because it reminds me of like home movies my dad would take or me fucking around with the video camera when I was a little kid. And yeah, it's just you don't get to see the sort of like first person vision of driving into a racetrack and all that very often. And this video is just jam-packed full with this, right down to the radio playing in the background. It's so cool.
So, driving into the track, they drive underneath this tunnel, which is underneath the highway. 77's right there. So also, I should say, throughout this video, the people bounce back and forth because, again, this is a full race weekend and there's races at both tracks, both nights. And West Virginia Motor Speedway is only about 35, 40 minutes away. Basically, if you skip going to Pennsboro, it's like the next exit past the Pennsboro exit. It's very close. So I have driven underneath this tunnel before. This was one of the reasons why racing stopped at this track because that tunnel, at least at this time, was very small and a lot of the newer haulers couldn't make it through there. And eventually they updated it and Unfortunately, it didn't bring people back to the track, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
I will
For
say
a second,
that. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, for half a second, I thought this was the racetrack in West Virginia that me and you got pulled over by the cops at, but that was a different track.
No, this is the one. This is the track.
Oh, is it?
So you
This
did
is the
recognize the road.
Yeah.
And the soundtrack.
Because you can driving down 77, you can see the track very clearly. It's right next to the highway. And I will also say that a few years ago, on a different road trip, I did try to go into the track, and I went up this street, and you can kind of see it in the video, but there's a house like right at where the actual track entrance is, past that bridge, and that kind of spooked me at the time. I was like, I don't want the cops called to me and whatever. And again, Truelove and I have dealt with West Virginia cops before, and I wasn't looking to have that conversation that day, even though I was just looking at a racetrack. So I am familiar with this road and this entrance and whatnot. And, you see all the different, fans and stuff, parked outside the track. And again, I should say this was filmed right after 9/11. So there's a lot of pro-USA stuff going on at the track.
A lot of Lee Greenwood.
Yeah, a lot of Lee Greenwood content in this.
Not the
we'll get into
Canada
that.
version.
No.
This was the original half-mile layout, which I guess eventually they tried to cut down to 3/8, and that didn't work, and then they put it back up to half-mile, and that's kind of where it sits now, just kind of empty. I'll be honest, I don't remember. I couldn't recognize most of these cars. I mean, I saw like Freddie Smith. I think maybe, I don't know if Bloomquist is at this race or not. I couldn't really tell. There were some IMCA modifieds there. I couldn't tell if that was Kenny Schrader's trailer or not. There was like a AC Delco trailer there.
Bloomquist was definitely at Pennsboro, Bub. We'll get to that.
What's that?
Bloomquist was definitely at Pennsboro.
Oh, yeah, we'll
get to that.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was maybe Donnie Moran was there. Again, there was a bunch of cars I couldn't recognize. There was street stocks there. They showed some street stock footage, and there was an early wreck. Then cuts to footage of a couple guys parachuting into the track while Lee Greenwood was playing. As the announcer said, a special song by Lee Greenwood. There's only one Lee Greenwood song.
Apparently there's two.
What's his? Oh, yeah, the Canadian one. So
He's got some good hot and steamy fucking songs from the 80s too, but
I'll take your word for that.
Imagine anyone fucking to Lee Greenwood.
Let me say this real quick too. Have you guys ever been at a race where there were people parachuting in like this?
They did it at North Wilkesboro. You were there, Brien.
Well, yeah, there's that, but I mean, any other time? No?
I don't think so.
I know I've seen it, but I couldn't tell you where.
The first ever cup race I went to in New Hampshire in '94, someone did this, but fucked up the landing real bad and got hurt very bad and had to get carted out of there on a stretcher.
Wasn't it in Atlanta a couple years ago? One of those guys got hung up on the fence.
I would believe that. I don't know, but I would.
This is recent history.
That.
I'll try and find it and send it to you guys. But
I think you're right.
Now, again, this was the Freedom 100. It was a salute to America. I think Dale McDowell was on the pole. I think that's who that was.
Yeah, Dale McDowell.
Okay. Then they show footage of the late model race, that first night one. Again, I don't really recognize any of the names. I do see Rick Eckert in there. He's one of the few cars I recognize. One of the heats, somebody loses a wheel. Freddie Smith is there. He's another guy I recognize. Camera work is not great during this part of the video. It's kind of blurry and choppy at times. But, I mean, again, this is 2001. It's a camcorder. It is what it is. All of a sudden,
guy was Homestead in 2018, so also related to this week.
Right.
There you go. So we all of a sudden do a quick cut from footage at West Virginia to the next day they're in Pennsboro. There's quite a bit more people here, both fans and race trailers and all that shit. I mean, granted, this is the Dirt Track World Championships, and this was one of the last years Pennsboro was in operation. So I shouldn't be surprised to see much more people there. You can see people lined up all over the speedway in different parts of the mountains and all that other shit. Let's see here. You see the original Pennsboro hillside in full effect. Again, that is the one thing about my Pennsboro experience that I knew I wasn't going to get, but I'm still bummed seeing it and having that experience myself, because that hillside, just, you hear so many stories about that, and it looked cool as shit.
Yeah, the shots of those people just tucked off in the trees and all that. Yeah, it's super cool.
You know, this is, again, the original Pennsboro, and the track itself looks somewhat rough, but the original flag stand is still there on the hillside. And I will say one thing I didn't mention: they didn't have like an actual actual flag stand. They had like just some construction equipment set up
with a cherry picker.
Scissor lift.
Yeah, cherry picker at the bottom there. So that was it.
This broadcast brought to you by United Rentals, folks.
We see some shots of Freddie Smith ripping around the track. There are some random just racing shots, different cars. Again, I don't know who the hell I'm looking at here. There's different wrecks and stuff going on. Then all of a sudden there's a fight. So
yeah,
this is one of the late model races. Like, there's a big massive pile up. And I'm getting ahead of myself. There's a shot of this number 1 car pulling into its pit stall and pulling into its transporter, and the driver gets out of the car and throws his fucking steering wheel on the ground, and you can see him just getting out of the car, pissed off, yelling and stuff. I thought that was pretty funny.
Well, right before that, he was kicking another car.
Oh, was he?
Out on the racetrack, yeah.
Ah, okay.
He went up to it like 2 or 3 times, like screaming and kicking.
That's funny. Let's see here. There's a wreck involving Freddie Smith and a bunch of others, and then yet again another shot of a random tractor trailer. These people love tractor trailers. Every single one they shoot, like leaving the track.
He did get a great shot of Bloomquist's hauler, which I appreciate.
Yep. See, there's a shot of everybody watching. They kind of pan around the track at one point. You can see people all over the mountains. Like, I'm not talking like on the street. I'm talking way up in the the mountains. Yeah. Like in turn 1, turn 2, like all over the place watching. And I can't.
That's what I was talking about. That's the coolest shot in the whole thing.
Like that was definitely not happening, at least that I saw this past weekend. But I have to imagine if I go back at a warmer time, this will be happening there. Now here's the funny part, the fight. So there's another huge wreck where there's probably like 5 or 6 cars involved, and one of them is wrecked on the guardrail and all hung up there. And you just see this big wreck, and all of a sudden you see a bunch of crew members running towards this one car, and there's one crew member holding back this one driver, and as the other driver gets out of the car, he just kind of leaps at the one guy, and they start brawling on the ground, and everybody starts going crazy. And then all of a sudden, just the whole crowd was over there. Like, I don't know how long it took them to clean this mess up, but like it seemed like everybody in the crowd just went over to where this wreck was just hanging out. After that, again, more haulers. This is where you see Bloomquist hauler and a bunch of other ones. Super cool. Back to the Stars late models. Yet again, we hear God Bless the USA, the second time in the video, and the announcer saying, "What a beautiful sight, only in America, folks." That you'll see this again. This is a very patriotic time for our country, and in West Virginia especially, they were very passionate. Actually, no, I should say they were at West Virginia. They moved back to West Virginia. They're playing Lee Greenwood again. All the guys had American flags. They were all waving American flags out of their car. A bunch of blurry racing shots, and the final shot before they go back to Pennsboro is the flagman going completely apeshit with 2 flags, just waving them like nuts.
Whipping the shit out of
1 o'clock in the morning on the timestamp.
Mm-hmm. So back to Pennsboro for the final day of racing there, and there's heat race footage of Bloomquist, Rick Eckert, and Bart Hartman, who I had to look him up after the fact, and Bart actually passed Rick and won his heat. I noted a shot of a golf cart with late model panels and then another wreck. There's a street stock race, and they wreck immediately. Then there's a shot of
Such
just
is tradition.
people. Yeah, of course. There's just shots of people bullshitting in the crowd on the hillside, just to give you an idea of what that whole scene looked like. Then we get to the main event, and before the race, you just see all the cars parked up by the fence, and everybody's just kind of milling around and looking at everything and talking. And then the race itself is pretty much just Bloomquist following Bart Hartman the whole time. Doesn't pass him, gets close a handful of times, but it's just those two just chasing each other around the whole fucking time. You see at one shot I really appreciated. It was very quick, but there was a guy like in front of the camera who was wearing like a backwards hat, and you just see a quick shot of him, thumbs up, and immediately thumbs down at some car. Like I really got a kick out of that.
It's like some Andy Newsom moves right there.
One thing I'll say, comparing this race to what I saw, there were definitely a few more lines this year. Like, a lot more guys are ripping the fence, which I didn't see that at all in any of this footage. So I don't know what was different then as to now, but I mean, it was cool to see guys ripping the fence these days.
Probably Arrow, honestly.
I'm sure, yeah. And like I said, Bloomer gets close a handful of times, but just never makes the pass, and it's just him following Hartman the whole time, and he gets the win. And then as the video ends, you just see a bunch of wrecked street stocks and then haulers and cars getting towed away, and that's it. That's the video. So
Perfect. Perfect video of the week.
It was.
I love these fan cam videos, and I do my best to try to dig them up, and I will continue to do so. And this was just the perfect one for my weekend. So it sounds like you guys enjoyed it as much as I did.
Oh yeah, and these are less about the racing. It's not a document of the event itself, like the action on track necessarily, but the sort of spirit of what's happening. And you don't get that on a broadcast very often. It has to come from places like this, and I'm just happy that there is some document of, I guess you can call this old Pennsboro. Obviously it was towards the end of its life, but yeah, just I love this sort of incidental, just like I'm a random guy at a racetrack and let me just film whatever's in front of me kind of vibe.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons. I mean, now with cell phone cameras and stuff, I mean, there's tons of videos of the last 15 years of people at different races, but finding this type of footage from old shit is a lot tougher, and anytime I can find it, I'm immediately going to watch it.
Yeah, and it just makes me so sad that I know that there's so much of this footage and so much historical footage of racetracks and just this sort of thing sitting in some Meemaw's attic somewhere that will never get seen. For every one video we have on this show, there's at least 20 to 30 more of them to match it that will never see the light of day. And
well, hey, this is what me and Truelove do, meeting these old dying people, buying their collections. Like,
yeah.
Got any tapes? Got any homemade tapes?
Yeah. I feel like every tape I've ever found, though, usually ends up with, like, some mold on it. And it's just fucked, which sucks, because they didn't store them properly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I did love this video. This might be one of my favorite fan cam videos so far.
Same.
The only negative I'll say is I wish there was talking in it, but I appreciated how he, like, I guess kind of edited it, because it wasn't a fan cam video where it's just him sitting there logging every single lap. Like, I don't want to sit there and watch fan cam video of an entire race, because that's pointless. Like, I feel like he got a good mix of everything. So
yeah.
But I did go and look to see what other videos this guy had. He has a ton of these fan cam videos from like the early 2000s, and then all the other videos he's talking in them. So
damn, I didn't even go that far.
Yeah, 2005 Eldora Dream, I noticed. 2000 Bristol, Tampa. 2004 Skyline Speedway. They're like young, kind of. They look like maybe early 20s boys. And there's like them camping at Skyline Speedway. There's South Boston, Myrtle Beach, Martinsville. So I'm definitely going to be watching.
We'll definitely
some more of
incorporate.
these.
Yeah, we'll incorporate some more of those in the future for sure. Then that's cool.
One more thing I'll mention about this video, and again, anytime you see one of Bloomquist's old cars here, particularly from the early like Black Sunshine yin yang era is just how big of an influence that had on the design of wraps and paint jobs for these cars. Like it looks completely different from anything else that's out there. And now that sort of design aesthetic has worked its way in to the sport in a much larger way, but it just looks so no pun intended, it's so alien and compared to like, seeing Freddie Smith out there,
Yeah.
Super cool to see that.
Yeah. So that brings us to our video of the week this week. And I'll start off by saying we got a handful of great submissions from fans or listeners of the show this week.
Yes, we did.
So thank you very much for those. And one of them I'll say is 3 hours, and we will definitely watch that at some point because, again, it's a full race with commercials and everything, which we love. But with all of us traveling, and especially Truelove traveling a bunch this weekend, it's a little too much for this episode. But there are a couple other videos, and I'm going to give Truelove choice here. I'll say that, so we all know one of them, and it's 34 minutes long. And it's, let's just say this. If you're a listener of the show, you will understand why this is a Brien video. Because, once you see it, you'll know. And I'll just say that. And the other one is an hour long. And this is another full episode of something with full commercials and everything. And I know that we'll all enjoy this one. But I'm leaving it up to Truelove because you're the one with the travel. And, do you want to watch a half-hour video or an hour video?
Drum roll, please.
You make the call.
Is the hour-long one like related to upcoming races or events? Like it needs to be?
Not really. No.
All right. Well, I'll be honest. I'd rather do the 34-minute one just because.
Okay. Well,
I'm gonna be gone.
What have you done?
So I know, but I'm gonna be gone so much the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Well, again, we will definitely watch the hour-long one at some point because this is one I know we'll all enjoy for 100%, like guaranteed. So that's fine. But
I
that
feel like
leads
we'll
us-
have so much other stuff to talk about the next couple of weeks. So
Yeah. So that brings us to the half-hour video then.
I'm sorry, y'all.
One of our favorite Instagram accounts, NASCAR Pulp, sent this to us. It is a 130 seconds slot car video featuring current day NASCAR slot cars. It's just titled World Exclusive Carrera NASCAR. And I watched about 30 seconds of this, and it's just a fat old guy talking about slot cars to start off. So I'm in. Like, it's 100% my style. Again, this is a Brien video for sure.
Yeah.
So thank you, NASCAR Pulp.
Carry that conversation next week.
Yeah.
This description comes directly from NASCAR Pulp. He says, this guy doesn't seem to follow NASCAR too closely, but he definitely has his moments when he's unboxing these cars. So, and I believe that. So thank you very much.
So yeah, that'll be on the video of the week playlist, and I'm excited to watch it and talk about it next week.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Cool.
We'll save the good stuff for another.
What do you mean? This is the good stuff. Fuck off. So yeah, as mentioned, Truelove will be at Martinsville this weekend.
That's right.
Rob and I will not be. I'm definitely staying at home for Charlotte the week after. So
Who you hanging with in Martinsville? You hanging with anybody, Truelove?
I'll be going with my buddy Jeremy, who I know we've mentioned before on here. He works at college. And then we'll be camping with our buddies, Adam and Jamie. I know I've talked about Adam on here before. He grew up being Bobby Allison's step grandson. So he's always got some great stories. Gonna meet up with Andy Newsom when he gets into town.
Nice.
And then friend of the program, Kyle Ayala, is gonna come up on Sunday for his first Martinsville race. So
Very cool.
it's gonna be a good group.
cool.
And Tim Duggar's playing Saturday night.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, I'm sure you're excited. I'm excited for you, 100%.
I know you are.
By the way, shout out to Andy Newsom. I forget the name of the driver he hangs with and works with, but him and his boys won $20,000 over the weekend in a late model championship. So good for them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, his van shit the bed this past weekend. So
Yeah, he had a hell of a time this weekend. highest of highs and lowest of lows. But yeah, I'm excited to you get to hang out with Andy, and I guess he's gonna try to make the finals still, and hopefully he does, cause
yeah, he's getting his van towed back to Virginia, I guess tomorrow. He's gonna catch a ride to Martinsville with some other friends, but I guess he's gonna see if the van is salvageable, and then decide from there if he can make the finals, which I hope he can.
Yeah, well, prayers up for Andy there. He's one of the best best dudes you'll ever meet.
For sure.
Let's go hang out with him.
Yep, Larson will probably win that race because he's won 3 fucking races that I've been to this year.
Thank God.
Oh, really? Damn. So you're his good luck charm. Okay. That's
Apparently.
good. Yeah.
I need you to go to these races. Go to Phoenix, too. Fucking.
No.
I'll pitch in on your ticket. How's that sound?
I'm good. But yeah, he's won both cutoff races that I've been to and Vegas race, so I'm already disappointed, and I'm not even there.
I mean, I'd definitely rather see him than, like, say, Byron or, no offense, Chase get in. Although I do want to see Denny get in, so. Listen, I don't hate Chase, but I don't love Chase either, so sorry. You guys, you fucking shit on Ross Chastain all the time, so I don't want to hear it.
Who?
Get off.
I'm just kidding, yeah. But yeah, I would love to see a Kyle Larson win this weekend. It would make my heart stop palpitating, so that'd be nice. So thanks for your help and support, Truelove. I very much appreciate it.
All right, well, with that, as always, you can follow us at Meet Me at Applebees on Instagram, Meet Me at the Bees on Twitter. I am Speedway Screens on all the things. SpeedwayTSJ.etsy.com is the shop, and MMA Applebees is the 15% off discount code at checkout. So use that or DM me if it doesn't work. But no one has, so that means none of you people are buying from me.
Well, I'll tell you, you've posted some hot
They don't
shit.
listen this far.
Some hot stuff on that account past couple days here. I think I saw a TG Shepherd Folgers hat up in there. That was
That's
pretty
still
cool.
up for grabs.
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of good stuff, folks. So, make something good come out of spending an hour and a half listening to this show every week, and give Brien some money and get yourself some sweet, sweet merchandise. So when you come meet us at the Applebee's in Concord, you look fucking dope.
It's how I get to these
Brian will
races.
autograph it.
That's true.
I won't autograph it. I will
He'll be
not.
signing Corey LaJoy koozies all weekend.
If you want me to devalue your merch, just hit me up. All right, your turn, Meemaw.
Yeah, it's still Snake Mountain, Truelove. I don't know. I'll try to post some stuff this weekend, but cell service at Martinsville is horrendous.
Hasn't made it up there yet.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, Rob Motes.
But if anyone's going to be there that listens, let me know. We'll drink some beers.
There you go.
Eat some hot dogs.
I'm so jealous. I never got a chance to camp at Martinsville. I've been, but I've never camped, and it just seems like a good time. Aside from that marching band coming up down the holler on Sunday morning.
I forgot about that. We won't be camping in that campground. We're going to be camping in this old lady named Dorothy's yard who lives right next to the racetrack. So.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, that band, them fuckers can fuck right off as far as I'm concerned. Rob Motes _official on Instagram. My band's called These Wild Plains. Yeah, I'm just really, really excited. As much as I hate that the racing season is coming to a close, at least for what we're used to, having stuff going on most nights of the week and all that, I'm so excited to get to hang with you guys in Charlotte in a week. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to that. I always look forward to the World Finals and getting to see everybody. And this is the first time I'm going to be able to go down there and just hang. Usually there's band stuff going on, there's family stuff going on, and there'll be a little bit of that for me, I think. But for the most part, this is just a dog's trip, and I'm really stoked to get to see everybody down there, and we're gonna have us a good time. So looking forward to that.
Very long overdue of us all three being in the same place.
Yes, we have.
At the same time.
We've never been in the same place at the same time.
Nope.
I mean, you and Brian just met last week or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Truelove and I have been on some trips, so
Yeah.
But yeah, long overdue, and yeah, very much looking forward to seeing you guys and everybody else who lives down there. Like I've said on the show 1,000 times, Carolina's a second home to me, and I love being down there. So very much looking forward to it.
absolutely. Cool. Well, with that, looks like our check is here. So thank you again for joining us at Applebee's, and we'll talk to y'all next week.
Next week, the check will be here for real.
Yeah.